guys, welcome back to another episode of Wade's Garage. We're introducing the newest addition to the garage here, and I'm very excited to widen my variety of skills and hopefully get really good at something like this, and then I can provide it for people if they want. What better time to get this than to start fabricating my own stuff on the Supra. So this is what we got here. We got a welding station. I know you guys have probably seen the actual Snap-on cart in the background of videos and everything. This has been around for a little bit here, but what's inside is what I've been waiting on. You kind of see it from the front. Tucks away nicely there. Good way to ground out your table, and then that way everything that sits on top of it is grounded out, so then that way you can just you clip the ground on it and you just use that whole table as your ground or positive, depending on what type of welding you're doing. So that does aluminum, that does stainless steel, and it does a few other settings on it. There's way more settings on it than I think I'd ever be able to use. I'm still learning how to do it, but what better time to learn to use a thing other than to make the custom exhaust for the Supra here. So let's go ahead and try this thing out, see what it does, see how crappy or how quickly I pick up on it. I did a few lines here and there on a few practice pieces, but I'm gonna get some more cut up, practice, and then we can, if I get good enough, I can start with making my own car parts and making the downpipe for the Supra. First things first, since I already have this piece made up here, this is the mid pipe. We're going all 4-inch here. I'm gonna build it off of this. That's a 45-degree angle, wraps around and wraps over to this here. This steps up. It's kind of a weird step on this. So I've got a reducer that will mate up to the biggest part of this exhaust, which is just over 3.5, I believe. So we're gonna step down from 4 inches down to 3.5. It won't be too much of a bottleneck. It'll be okay. I'm not running 1800 horsepower here, so it should be fine to run through. It's a pretty free-flowing exhaust, but I don't want to bottleneck down. As you can see, it steps down here. You can get adapters and stuff for this, but I'm just going to cut it right here and throw my new adapter on it. As you can see over here, this piece, we're going to put and weld it on there, or sorry, this like that, and then it will go up to a 4-inch and then wrap all the way up, and then we'll start making up our downpipe over there as well. So we're gonna start with cutting this off here and work our way up, since that piece is already made. Normally I would make and start working our way back to something, but I already know what I need to do here and made it up with that straight piece back there. So we're gonna go ahead and get this exhaust off, cut this here, and then start from the back up. So this is what I have come up with so far. As you can see, it's a fairly large pipe, so this is kind of hard to, you gotta make sure you can actually still install the thing on the car. This design that I have here, it's perfect. It slips right in behind and then V-bands up at the top. So I've pretty much completed the downpipe here. You can see all these pie cuts that I've done here, and like I said, this is all just tacked up because I don't want to permanently do it yet in case I need to move something or whatever, but this is coming off the turbo, and this goes down to the other side of the car. You get all your angles, you get your 15-degree pie cuts sitting there. This is pretty much the final setup here. I need to weld a V-band on the end, and then this is going to join the bottom part here and replace this angle, because I can't get that angle exactly right. So I needed a 35 instead of a 45. So I'm gonna cut that straight, and then this, you guys will see exactly how it mates up. Tack that V-band on there and tack a V-band onto the end of here, and then that will join that. This is what that extra piece was for. This will come straight off here and join. I've already cut the end off of this pipe here. Then that way, because that angle is wrong and I didn't want to change anything up on the downpipe side because I've already got it kind of perfect. That goes up in there. As you can see, it wraps around nicely. I've already went ahead and done my wastegate dumps here off camera because those were kind of more my practice fab stuff. You don't see it as much, but they turned out pretty good. As you can see there, they're not too bad. The welds don't look great, but I'm still learning. It's my first time, so I was able to fab those up, not touching on anything. It's hard to make dual wastegates actually work on a car with very little room, but with a 4-inch downpipe. But we got lots of room here, is how I'm designing this. So V-band here. This will join back to that pipe back there once we get that reducer on that. So let's go ahead and size up and see how much I need to cut off that S pipe and bring it around and see what lines up. So far it's looking pretty good here. So this is what we're looking at here. I decided to throw an extra flex joint in with the down pipe. Well, not really, it's part of the mid pipe. I know there's another flex section that's, excuse my one-man stand here. This is the, whatever around the shop deal where I just put it on a jack stand and put the broom up there and holds it where I need to. It's a bit ghetto, but don't mind that. There's already a flex joint here, but I'd like a flex joint up closer to the downpipe so it's not so heavy and you're hitting the two-step and everything else. It's not stressing too much up on the turbo up in there. So a bit of a flex joint there and a flex joint there, which is perfect. Now this is going to line up perfectly with the rest of the exhaust system that I have here. So this is where that reducer comes in handy. So this will come down to just over 3.5 from 4-inch. So I'll do a V-band here and then cut this to length here. This will slip inside and then we'll do a V-band there as well to join up with that. But yeah, this is looking pretty good. As you can see, that downpipe fits perfect. It took me a bit to get all the angles right with here. Like I said, I cut that other original part off of here with this because it just wasn't the correct angle with the V-bands there, and it wasn't the correct V-band on it. Like the V-bands I have a recess in here where it kind of lines it up for you and it clips in like Lego, if you know what I mean. So we took that off. We got enough clearance between the floor here. As you can see, there's a loop already for the original exhaust that runs through. The flex pipe's got enough room there. We can adjust it. Everything kind of looks good as it lines up here. That is a massive exhaust. I already checked too as well. If you look at the underside of the car, it almost sits flush with the side skirt. So it won't be scraping on anything or anything like that. So that's good. It's tucked up enough into the floor to the point where it's not hitting, but it's not dragging down over bumps and stuff. So let's get our measurements done here, and we're gonna start doing actual welds all the way on everything. Okay, so you gotta give me credit. It is my first time welding. It doesn't look too bad. I got a lot more practice to do. This pipe is now mated up with the HKS pipe, so that's all done, and it's a smooth transition in there, as you can see, from a 4-inch to a just over 3.5, so it should be good. Not too much of a bottleneck. Should run through. This is still a very big pipe out the back, but we shouldn't notice anything different with that. So I'm gonna get this mounted up. We can start welding our mid pipe here. I've got it all set kind of where I need it to be, so then we're gonna get welding on that. Basically just went to town with the welding for the down pipe and the full mid pipe. Cut everything up that you needed. As you've seen there, I was using the bandsaw, I guess you would want to call it, to cut the steel up into my angles and lengths, and then you saw me welding it there. I now officially have it all welded up and it fits perfect. I brushed all the welds. They don't look too bad for my first time actually welding up a project. I thought they turned out pretty good, so I can only get better from here. I welded on my O2 bung over here as well for the wideband and set it on the angle so it doesn't interfere. Put a little heat shield over this clutch line here. There's a decent amount between here, but I still might have to make a little shield. here to protect this from the heat, but as you can see, it runs down in there. It's kind of dark in there, but runs up and it stays away from my wastegates and then wraps around, and I'll show you the finished product underneath of the car. We'll just raise it up here. So as I was saying, here is all the true 4-inch here. I have connected it with the flex pipe here. It was a bit of a challenge to actually weld this flex pipe. I don't know if it's just being a different type of material, or maybe not as good of material of stainless, but it looks okay. I wish it was a little bit better, but you know what? It's not bad for my first time, like I said. The V-bands turned out pretty good. Pretty happy with those. There's not really any crud on them, which is good. But as you can see, the down pipe wraps up and around over there. A few pie cuts in there. Stays away from my two twin wastegates here. As you can see, they're plumbed in all the way over there. So we go over here to this, and we got the S shape here, and then we got another flex here. And I decided to make a exhaust hanger in the original spot where the 2-piece drive shaft was. I just bought this exhaust hanger for like $5 or whatever, and it was a stainless rod, cut it to length, welded it onto the side of the pipe. Since there is 2 flexes in here, in the center here, it was kind of too big of a span to actually not have a hanger, and it's a lot on the down pipe, so I figured this is perfect. I can put it right here, no holes drilled in the car, stays away from the drive shaft, holds it up, because the next hanger is right over here, and from there to up front, that's a lot without a hanger in my opinion. So this is rock solid now. This is good. Everything moves as it should. We got good clearance up in the floor here. Everything worked out. And then I connected it to the original HKS high power exhaust with this little reducer here. It is 4-inch from the turbo on here, and a smooth transition to that. So that should do the trick, and everything has lined up perfectly with the original setup where the exhaust was. So nothing's rubbing here. It's in the perfect, it's even here with the 45. You got movement on it, it needs to be, but the exhaust looks really, really good next to that brand new tranny. The V-bands turned out pretty good. There's a good overview of the underneath of the car there. This car has definitely come a long way. It's fairly clean under here. Most of this stuff is just residue. I have to get at it. I scrubbed one spot here and it cleaned up really, really good. So I just have to spend some more time scrubbing that stuff off. But the car itself is in really, really good shape under here, so which is great. I'm thankful for that. But big intercooler in here. Everything's lined up. My hot side piping's there, wraps around. And we got the oil cooler set up here. It's directly hit with that. So things are definitely coming together. Next thing we're going to do is actually lower this down. I got a few more parts in the mail here. Went with a BTI gauge here. This is a 4.5-inch, I think, touchscreen. And you can get all your modes through it, your boost settings, like it gives you all your sensors. Like these are a high quality gauge. Like this isn't just like the one you go and you plug into your OBD2 and then it gives you your readings through an app on your phone. These are fairly expensive. I think said and done, this was about $1,000 by the time it shipped to my door. And it's strictly for the Supra. So when you boot it up, it'll connect right to your aftermarket ECU and it will say Supra on the background, and it's basically dedicated. They make a few for some other cars, but they're dedicated to the Supras. So I'll show you that too. It's a real clean look. It doesn't involve any cutting in the dash, so which is I'm a huge fan of. I do not want to cut any of the interior parts or cut exterior parts if I don't have to with this car. So let's drop it down, get that BTI gauge put in there, run the wires to where the ECU is going to be. We can be ready for our computer and wiring harness when it shows up.
This is Raven Beats.
Okay, so as you can see, the install went fairly smooth and it's very easy to install these BTI gauges. Fits super nice. It wraps around the vent perfectly, and this matches the dash color perfectly as well. So this is all going to be touchscreen, like I was saying. Easy, run your wires. It's very easy to do. I just ran them out to the bottom here to where the computer is going to be sitting, and then you got your communication cables and such all sitting right here and ready to be tied into ECU. Before you order this, you have to tell them what ECU you're going to be running so they can pin these out properly, these pigtails. I'm going to be doing ECU Masters Black series. These will button up once my computer and harness shows up. So like I said, that replaces the clock here, and there's no cutting, no drilling or anything, and it all bolts in, and you can easily reverse it if you want to. So I have a few gauge pods, 2 gauge pods in 350, and it fits really nice and all that, but sometimes just a little bit too much interiors. I like to keep them OEM plus as much as I can. We got to do something with this steering wheel. I got to get it rewrapped or sent out or something with a refresh. I like these steering wheels, but I don't like that it's worn out a little bit here. But the rest of the interior is in excellent shape. We got our Granis Racing 6-speed in here, so that should be a riot. Also ordered a new one of these too, because it's got a little chip on it there. And then the interior should be pretty well buttoned up in this thing.